My name is Cassandra Mitchell and I'm 29 years old. 3 weeks ago, I stood in a lawyer's office and watched my parents' faces drain of color as they realized what my grandmother had done. What they didn't know was that Grandma had called me from her hospice bed 2 months earlier and said 8 words that would change everything. I know what they did with your money. The money they stole. The $50,000 inheritance my grandfather left me when I was 18. The money that was supposed to pay for my college education. The money my parents told me didn't exist anymore, while my brother Austin drove around campus in a brand new BMW with a custom license plate that read, Grad Gift. Before I tell you what my grandmother did and how my parents are now facing consequences they never saw coming, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to hear how this ends. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare began. I was 18 years old, sitting in my high school guidance counselor's office, when I first learned about inheritance. Mrs. Patterson had called me in to discuss my college applications and I was stressed. My parents had made it clear, there was no college fund. If I wanted to go to university, I'd need scholarships or loans. Cassandra, Mrs. Patterson said gently, have you discussed your grandfather's trust with your parents? I blinked. What trust? Her face changed. Your grandfather's estate. The educational trust he set up for you and your brother. My heart started racing. I don't know what you're talking about. He pulled out a folder. Inside was a letter my grandfather had written to the school 2 years before he died. It outlined his wishes. $50,000 for each grandchild held in trust until they turned 18, specifically designated for education. According to this, Mrs. Patterson said carefully, you should have received access to these funds on your 18th birthday. That was 3 months ago. I sat there numb. 3 months ago, my parents had taken me to dinner at Olive Garden for my birthday. My dad gave me a card with $100 inside. My mom hugged me and said she was proud of me. Neither of them mentioned $50,000. There must be a mistake, I said. But when I got home and asked my parents about it, their reaction told me everything. My mother's face went tight. My father set down his newspaper. Where did you hear about that? Mom asked. Mrs. Patterson. She said Grandpa left me money for college. My parents exchanged a look. The one that meant they were deciding how much truth to tell me. Sit down, Cassie, Dad said. I sat. Your grandfather did set up a trust, Mom began. But there were complications. Legal issues. The money, it's gone. Gone. My voice was small. What do you mean gone? Estate taxes, Dad said quickly. Legal fees. By the time everything was settled, there wasn't anything left. I wanted to believe them. I needed to believe them. Because the alternative, that my own parents would lie to me about $50,000, was too horrible to consider. What about Austin? I asked. Did his money disappear too? Another look between them. Austin's situation is different, Mom said. He's younger. We're handling things differently for him. I was too young, too trusting to push back. I applied for every scholarship I could find. I took out student loans. I worked 2 part-time jobs while taking a full course load. I made it work because I had no choice. Meanwhile, my brother Austin was 15, failing most of his classes and seemingly on track for the same financial struggle I was facing. Our parents constantly reminded me how expensive college was, how I needed to be responsible, how nothing in life was free. I believed them. God help me, I believed every word. 3 years passed. I was 21, drowning in student debt, working night shifts at a diner to pay rent on a tiny apartment I shared with 2 roommates. Then I came home for Austin's 18th birthday. The party was at our parents' house. Family, friends, neighbors. My grandmother was there, looking frighlier than I'd ever seen her, but she'd insisted on coming. Austin was opening presents when Dad stood up. We have one more surprise, he announced. Mom was beaming. Actually beaming. They led Austin outside. We all followed. And there in the driveway was a brand new BMW 3 Series. Midnight blue. Leather interior. Bow on top like something from a commercial. Austin screamed. Actually, I screamed with joy. No way. No way. This is mine. Happy 18th birthday, son, Dad said, handing him the keys. I stood there frozen. The car had to cost at least $45,000. Maybe more. How did you afford this? I heard myself ask. Mom laughed. We've been saving for years. We wanted Austin to have something special for his birthday. Saving. For years. While I worked 2 jobs and ate ramen for dinner. My grandmother was standing next to me. I felt her hand squeeze mine. When I looked down at her, her eyes were sad. Knowing. Ask them about your grandfather's money, she whispered. Grandma, they said it was gone. Estate taxes. She shook her head slowly. There were no estate taxes, sweetheart. Your grandfather was very careful about that. The world tilted. What are you saying? But before she could answer, Austin revved the engine and everyone rushed over to look at his new car. My grandmother squeezed my hand once more, then shuffled back inside. I should have followed her. I should have demanded answers right then. But I was 21, overwhelmed with work and school, and some part of me still couldn't accept what she was suggesting. That my parents had stolen from me. That they'd given my inheritance to my brother. So I pushed it down. I went back to school. I kept working. I kept struggling. But the seed of doubt had been planted and it grew in the dark. 2 years later I graduated college. $80,000 in debt, exhausted but proud. My parents came to the ceremony. They took pictures. They took me to dinner afterward at a chain restaurant. We're so proud of you, Mom said. I looked at them across the table. Their nice clothes, their expensive watches, their new car parked outside. Another recent purchase. How's Austin doing? I asked. Great. Dad said. He's finishing up his sophomore year. Really hit his stride this year. Sophomore year? Where? State University. Didn't we tell you? They hadn't. How's he paying for it? I asked carefully. Oh, we're helping him out, Mom said breezily. We don't want him to struggle like you did. The words hung in the air. Like I did. Like I had to. While they helped him. Plus he still had some of Grandpa's money left over from the trust, Dad added. Not much, but enough to cover his first year. I set down my fork. I thought that money was gone on estate taxes. My father's jaw tightened. My mother suddenly became very interested in her salad. Austin's was in a different account, Dad said. Different structure. It survived the legal fees. They were lying. I could see it in their faces, in the way they wouldn't meet my eyes, in the sudden tension that filled our booth. I need to go, I said. I left them there, drove back to my apartment and called my grandmother. Grandma, I said when she answered. I need to know the truth about Grandpa's trust. She sighed. Long and deep. I was wondering when you'd ask. Tell me. Please. Your grandfather left you both exactly $50,000. Held in separate trusts, managed by your parents until you each turned 18. The trusts were ironclad. No taxes. No fees. Nothing that would diminish them. Then where's my money? Your parents took it, she said quietly. They bought Austin that car. They've been using it to pay his tuition. They convinced themselves it was fair because Austin needed more help than you. Because you were always the strong one, the capable one. I was crying now, couldn't help it. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, sweetheart. At Austin's party. But you were so young and I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. So I called your father afterward and asked him directly. He admitted it. Said you were doing fine on your own and Austin needed the support more. That was my money, Grandma. I know, baby. I know. We talked for another hour. He told me everything. How my parents had transferred my trust funds into Austin's account before my 18th birthday. How they'd planned it for months. How they justified it because I'd always been the responsible one, and Austin had struggled more. When I hung up, I sat in the darkness of my apartment and felt something shift inside me. The last thread of family loyalty snapped clean. But I didn't confront them. Not yet. I was 23, still figuring out my life, and I knew that if I accused them, they'd deny everything. It would be my word against theirs. So I waited. I got a job in my field. I moved to a better apartment. I started building a life. And I stayed in touch with my grandmother, who was now my only real family. 2 years passed. I was 25 when my grandmother's health started failing. Cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave her 6 months. She lived for 8. I visited her every week in hospice. My parents came occasionally, looking uncomfortable, staying for short visits before hurrying away. Austin came twice, both times because Mom forced him to. During one of my visits, Grandma was having a good day. Alert with clear-eyed. I'm changing my will, she said suddenly. I'd been reading to her. I stopped. Grandma, you don't have to. Hush. I'm not dead yet. I can do what I want. She smiled, but it faded quickly. I have some money. Not a fortune, but enough. I was going to split it evenly between your mother and your Uncle James. But I've been thinking. He reached for my hand. What your parents did to you was theft. Pure and simple. And I'm not going to reward that by leaving your mother an inheritance she'll just waste or give to Austin. What are you going to do? I'm leaving everything to you. The house, the savings, everything. About $200,000 total. I couldn't breathe. Grandma, that's fair. That's what it is. Fair. He squeezed my hand. But here's the thing, sweetheart. Your parents don't know about this yet. And I'm not going to tell them until I'm sure they can't contest it. He told me her plan. She'd been working with a lawyer, making everything airtight. No loopholes. No way for my parents to claim diminished capacity or undue influence. It'll be done next week, she said. And when it's final, I'm going to call your parents and tell them exactly why I did it. They'll be furious. Good. Let them be furious. They can't change it, and they'll have to live knowing they lost $100,000 because they stole from their own daughter. I should have felt guilty. Some part of me expected to feel guilty. I felt nothing but relief. The will was finalized on Tuesday. My grandmother's lawyer confirmed everything was legal and binding. On Wednesday, Grandma asked me to bring my parents to hospice for a family meeting. Called Mom. Grandma wants to see everyone, I said. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Is she? Mom's voice caught. She's fine. Well, as fine as she can be. She just wants a family there. They came. Mom, Dad, Austin, and Uncle James. We gathered in Grandma's room, a small space that smelled like antiseptic and dying flowers. Grandma was propped up in bed, looking tiny but fierce. Thank you all for coming, she said. Her voice was weak but steady. I have something important to tell you. My mother moved closer. Mom, you should rest. I'll rest when I'm dead, Helen. Sit down. We sat. I stayed by the door watching. I've revised my will, Grandma said. It's done, signed, and legal. There's no changing it. Uncle James shifted uncomfortably. My mother's face went pale. Mom, you don't need to discuss this now. Helen, be quiet. Grandma's eyes were sharp. I'm leaving everything to Cassandra. Silence. Complete, devastating silence. Then chaos. What? My mother stood up. That's not, you can't. I absolutely can, and I have. But why? Dad's voice cracked. What about Austin? What about us? My grandmother looked at them with something close to contempt. You stole from your daughter, she said simply. You took $50,000 that her grandfather left specifically for her education and you gave it to Austin. You bought him a car. You paid his tuition. And you let Cassandra struggle with debt and 2 jobs while you pretended the money never existed. My mother's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. You lied to a child, Grandma continued. Your own child. And then you had the audacity to act like good parents when she graduated, buried in debt you could have prevented. Mom, you don't understand, my father started. I understand perfectly. You thought Austin needed it more. You thought Cassandra could handle it. You thought because she was capable she deserved less. Austin was staring at his hands. He knew. Of course he knew. So here's what's going to happen, Grandma said. Cassandra gets everything. The house, the savings, all of it. About $200,000. Maybe that'll help with the debt you forced her into. This is insane. Mom's voice was shrill. You're punishing us because we made one financial decision you didn't agree with? You committed fraud, Helen. You stole from a trust fund. I could have gone to the police. Instead, I'm giving your daughter what she deserves. My mother turned to me, eyes wild. You knew about this. You were in on this. I met her gaze steadily. I've known about the theft for 4 years, Mom. I just couldn't prove it. It wasn't theft. We're your parents. We made a decision we thought was best. You made a decision that benefited Austin and destroyed me financially. That's not parenting. That's favoritism and theft. My father looked broken. Completely broken. Cassie, please. We can fix this. We can pay you back. With what money, Dad? The money you spent on Austin's car? His tuition? Your new cars and vacations. Grandma coughed and we all turned back to her. Get out, she said quietly. All of you except Cassandra. Get out of my room. My mother opened her mouth to protest, but Grandma's glare silenced her. They left. Uncle James first, looking shell-shocked. Austin next, still not meeting anyone's eyes. My parents last, my mother crying, my father's hand on her shoulder. When they were gone, Grandma exhaled slowly. I'm tired, she whispered. I took her hand. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me, sweetheart. This is justice. Nothing more, nothing less. She died 3 weeks later. Peaceful in her sleep with me holding her hand. The funeral was tense. My parents sat on one side of the church, me on the other. Austin sat with them looking miserable. Uncle James sat with me, the only other family member who'd spoken to me since the hospice meeting. After the service, as we gathered for the burial, my mother approached me. Can we talk? Her eyes were red and swollen. About what? About fixing this. About being a family again. I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me to ride a bike and help with homework and told me she loved me. The woman who'd stolen $50,000 from me and never lost a single night's sleep over it. There's nothing to fix, Mom. You made your choice when I was 18. You chose Austin over me. You chose his comfort over my future. And you did it knowing exactly what you were doing. We thought. I don't care what you thought. Actions matter. And your actions told me everything I needed to know about how much I mattered to you. He was crying openly now. Please, Cassie. Please don't do this. Do what? Hold you accountable? Set boundaries? Refuse to pretend everything's fine? My father joined us, looking gray. Your mother's right. We need to work this out. No, I said simply. We don't. You need to live with what you did. I need to move on. I walked away. Didn't look back. The estate settled quickly. Grandma's lawyer was efficient and the will was airtight. No contest, no delays. 6 weeks after her death, I received a check for $198,000. After taxes and fees. I paid off my student loans in full. All $80,000 of them. Gone in one payment. Then I made a down payment on a small house. Nothing fancy but mine. Completely mine. With what was left, I started a scholarship fund in my grandfather's name. For students whose families couldn't or wouldn't support their education. Students like me. My parents tried to contact me. Emails, calls, letters. My mother even showed up at my new house once, begging to talk. I didn't answer the door. Austin sent me a text message 6 months after Grandma died. I'm sorry. I knew it was wrong. I should have said something. I replied, yes, you should have. But you didn't. And that tells me everything I need to know. He didn't text back. Now at 29, I'm living the life I built despite them, not because of them. I'm debt-free. I own my home. Have a career I love. And I sleep soundly every night, knowing I didn't achieve any of it through lies or theft. My parents lost $100,000 because they stole $50,000. They lost their daughter because they valued one child over the other. They lost their mother's respect because they couldn't admit what they'd done. Sometimes I wonder if they think it was worth it. If Austin's BMW and paid tuition were worth losing me. I hope the answer haunts them. Because my grandmother was right. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. Nothing more. Nothing less. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you've ever dealt with family favoritism or had to set hard boundaries with people you loved. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes we need to be reminded that protecting ourselves isn't selfish. It's survival. Thank you for listening. And remember, you don't owe anyone access to your life just because they're family. Choose yourself. Always.